definition of a reservation? Okay, good. I'm just going, well, okay, let me talk about it, as we know. Okay, a reservation means you Mormons, you can live anywhere in Caldwell County, but you go outside and we'll push it back. And you'd say all over the United States at that time, they were doing it to what kind of people? Native Americans, the Indians. And that the Indians, they had pushed them literally west, and you can find reservations in Arizona and California, in Oklahoma, and suddenly, crazy thing, patriots who could trace their heritage to their fathers or themselves defending the United States are told the only place you can live is Caldwell County. Tell me, do you like that? As much as we like living here, what if somebody drew around, you drew a little line and said, well, on July 4th, we're all going to Honolulu to celebrate, but did you say you were a Mormon? Your job is you can only stay here. Okay, you realize these saints want to be close to Jackson County. It's only a few miles up. Let's go to Caldwell. All right, we're going to do Caldwell. In Caldwell, Donovan now goes with the stake presidency, who are who? David Whitmer, W.W. Phelps are the Spirit of God, like fire is burning, okay, and John Whitmer, and they go up to Caldwell County, where you'd say there's no fences, there's no roads, there's no improvement at all on the land, and these three conclude, okay, we will move our people up there. And how they purchased the land is that when Joseph had gone back to Kirtland, Joseph had sent to these three from the people in Kirtland who are in great poverty that here's money for the poor and bleeding of Zion. In other words, those that have been in Jackson County, here's money. So as a result, these three have money and they purchase then Caldwell County.
Did they get money back for the property they bought at Clay County?
No. So the question is, when they abandon their Clay County properties, do they get money back? And the answer is no. Go fast or there's bloodshed. And you can imagine these people, they're pretty nervous. They, they've been burned out of their houses in Jackson County. Now the people, in Clay County, they're starting to get their guns ready, their swords ready. And it's like, okay, do we have a place to go? These three then say, yes. We have just been up to Caldwell County, and in Caldwell County, they founded a town called Far West. Oh, good. Okay, Far West. So Far West is you're building up blocks kind of thing in Caldwell County. Now, Far West, it's pretty interesting. As the people came into town, David Whitmer and all of those will set up the town like Zion, which is a circle. What's inside the circle? Square. Okay, good. And what's the middle of the square? Temple Square. Okay, they will actually set up Far West and will designate, in other words, here's the area. Nobody settle in this. This is going to eventually be our temple. And all around Temple Square, you can set up your what? Remember your shops, your merchandise, you're a cobbler, you make shoes, you make glass, you're whatever, that's all around there. And then these three then say to those in Clay County, Latter-day Saints that are hurrying to Far West, how close would you like your house to Temple Square? Well, people say, oh, I'd like to be right next to Temple Square, like my land of inheritance down in Jackson County. These three say, well, that would cost you. Oh, wow, I don't have much money. I'm a widow, I'm an orphan, I was hurt back in that Jackson County, as I'm rushing. I'm blind, I'm lame, I'm halt. Oh, you can live out here. Okay? But did you say you had worked as a servant in one of those big houses? Oh, great. Well, we'll take your money and you can live here. Who's pocketing the money? These three. Okay, got it? So, you go, ooh, ouch, oh yeah. Because suddenly you go, wow, I was poor in Jackson County. I was one of the last to arrive. I lived on the outskirts. Every time I turned around, I was burned out. I get up to Clay County. I never made it out of the fields, but boy, am I feeling strong. Okay. But finally, I get into Far West, and I'd really like to be close to town. I don't want any troubles. And where am I? Oh, wow. I'm on the edge of town. I'm still a widow. Okay? Well, all right. In the meantime, the town begins to build up. And we are now 1838. Okay? So by 1838, we're going to pull Joseph in as a full-time resident. So here comes Joseph. The year is 1838, and he's just escaping from, what was the name of that bank? Kirtland Safety
Security Anti-Banking.
Okay, close. Kirtland Safety Society Anti-Banking, okay, company. And Joseph is now run from there, and when he arrives in Far West is a beautiful city. By the time Joseph gets there, there's a population of 5,000 people, and they're all Mormons. How come?
Reservations.
You're in your reservation. Don't move, you're in your reservation. Joseph finds that there are 2 hotels. Joseph finds that there's 5 general stores. He sees prosperity all around that main part, and he learns that land has been set aside for a temple. He likes that. However, he begins walking through the town to see people, and as he does so, well, let's get him first around that Temple Square. Around Temple Square, he stops in the hotel. He sees a brother, and he'd seen him before in Clay County. And he said, oh, I'm so grateful. Look how prosperous you've become since I've seen you. You've got yourself a hotel. He says, well, I don't own the hotel. I manage it. Who owns it? First Presidency. He goes into the man with the general store. The last time I saw you were working out in the fields. And imagine, you've got yourself a general store, and it hasn't been that long. They say, oh, no, I don't own the general store. I manage it. Who owns it? This David Whitmer, W.W. Phelps, John Whitmer. It's the same for the blacksmith shop. It's the same for the, pottery shop. It's the same for any kind of shop you come around to. Who has the biggest houses in town? David Whitmer, W.W. Phelps, John Whitmer. Joseph then, as he goes around, he's now walking around the outskirts of town, and suddenly he sees, a sister. Well, she's a widow. And he sees her in literally poverty. Can hardly even, it's a lean-to, not even a log cabin. And he says, oh, last time I saw you, things were bad. I'm now seeing you, and it's not much improved. In other words, can I help you with budgeting? And wants to know what, there's money sent for the poor and bleeding of Zion, and actually, she should have received some, and she then says, what money? And Joseph goes to the next door neighbor. Well, he's blind, he's halt, he's ill, he's an orphan, he's, all of those things, and it's consistent. What money? I never got any money, because I was considered one of the poor and bleeding of Zion. Joseph now calls a meeting. It's himself, David Whitmer, W.W. Phelps, and John Whitmer. As he calls a meeting, Joseph now wants to see the books. In other words, you should have been kept what we would say today, a spreadsheet. Here's the money received from Kirtland, here's the money, how it went out, and here's who it was given to. Those 3 then say to Joseph, you have no jurisdiction here. What does that mean?
We're in charge.
We're in charge. You have no authority. In fact, they even say to him, if you want to be the prophet and president of the church, you are president of the church in Ohio. We are the presidency of the church in Missouri. Is that right? No. Joseph says, I'll hold court on you. They say, you don't have a right. In other words, Joseph, we're going to limit this, but I'm telling you, buddy, you are president of the church in Ohio. We are the presidency of the church in Missouri. Joseph, suddenly you realize they're not going to end friends when that meeting is over. Because Joseph is very strong. He is the president of the church, and he's not, defined by geography. Okay. The three of them now get together, this W.W. Phelps, the two Whitmer brothers, and their conclusion is, do you think Joseph is president of the church in Missouri? And finally they conclude, I think he could be. And the question is, how do we stop him from holding court on us? And their conclusion was, let's each one of us quietly go to Joseph and we'll slip him $1,000. And the $1,000 is, Joseph, we know you want to build the temple, the middle of town. And we're going to slip you $1,000 to be your first money, and you can go ahead and start it. So, okay, how do you think Joseph's going to react to that? No, I always describe these three men like our sticky-fingered ward clerk, those tithing checks can't pass through. They're holding it. And so, as each one of them tries to slip Joseph now $1,000, Joseph now says, court in session. So, okay. Court's in session in Far West. Notice what Joseph is just coming off. He's coming off that Kirtland Safety Society. You can always tell any writings of Joseph from 1838 because you can tell what a difficult time it is, and you can actually see it in his signature. Typically, Joseph, prior to this time, wrote his name like this. It kind of separates the letters. In 1838, when he has escaped from the Kirtland Safety Society, and he's saying on the streets of Kirtland, are you friend or foe, like Wilford? It's so hard to tell the difference. When he arrives here to find the very men that he is set apart to be in the stake presidency have now held on to the money for the poor and bleeding of Zion, how does his signature look? And the answer is, it's all shaky. Oh. Okay, oh, like this. And you're like, wow, Joseph, how are you doing? And you're like, wow, it's 1838. I'm in Far West. My best friends are falling apart. The ones I've counted on as the church moves forward. Okay. So one of the first things that Joseph does once he's in Far West, as he holds what were called church courts. What's the name of them today in the church? Disciplinary councils. But back then they were called church courts. Now notice, he will hold court on David Whitmer. There will be 13 charges against the man, including, hey, you're holding on to this money. But remember that David Whitmer was charged with failure to live the word of wisdom. Recall, he made covenants with Joseph and the Lord that he would live it, and he did not. So suddenly you look and you'd say, David Whitmer, one of the witnesses to the Book of Mormon, is now out.